Group hug!
All right.
Woohoo! Good job, guys!
Each song and each songwriting process is a little bit different. Sometimes I just get struck by inspiration, but a lot of the time I find when I get into a process of just writing and creating and then listening back, it's the listening back that really allows me to move forward and let an idea marinate. So that's why I always, when I'm writing something, or even after I play a gig that I thought went well, I try to make some time to just walk around in nature and listen to the gig, listen to the voice memos that I made when I was writing a song. And then that just helps me integrate. Even if I don't think of anything in the moment, the next time that I go to write or sit down with my guitar, suddenly some ideas start to come out that have had some time to mature.
Now, we've been in this park for at least an hour now, so yeah, maybe this has already kind of been a bit of that for you in a bit of an unusual circumstance. But just kind of as these ideas are developing, I'd like to see how they're developing.
I've been listening to some voice memos actually from some 5-track loops I was making when I used to work at the Empress performing there. And I used to play a lot of slide guitar. So right now I'm just kind of thinking about harmonized slide guitar that only be possible really in the recording studio, but getting excited about all the possibilities of harmonized slide guitars. And yeah, I mean, that's on my mind right now and kind of in my ears.
In your ears?
Yeah.
Anyway, we could get that into our ears as well?
Well, I didn't bring my slide, but we could definitely do some playing.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring it on.
All right. Well, this weed eater here is an A, so I'm going to play an A for a second. It's just so clearly in that key. A minor. All right, so here is an original I've been working on that is called the Confabulation. Yeah, it actually, once I record it, it will have some slide guitar. So get the capital C.
Capital C.
It runs on lithium and coal and steam and souls and dreams and public debt. And it's on for $4.99. So head right down to your local convenience store. I'm talking barbecues on Monday. Working weekends freaking while the early of the week begins. And there's some stuff out there that just might blow your mind. Like a lazy boy jacuzzi that automatically reclines. Or fridge just somehow knows just how to pour you a beer. It can absorb all your tears and that dry to hold it near. So keep that foot on the gas and blast on. And if it's smoky, put a mask on. Do you pass on and get ready for the capital C? It keeps going, never quits and supplies you with dreams. It's got a new phone, a new home, provides you with stuff. And a line of credit when you're just not making enough. So get the capital C.
Capital C.
It runs on lithium and coal and steam and souls and dreams and public debt. And it's on for $4.99. So head right down to your local convenience store and get the capital C.
Capital C.
It's got supremacy dwelling on that need to make cream. It's got an uncontent 1% who killed to the top and who drilled to the last drop with politics sold and bought.
CP triple O, island boy and loving it. Not from Vic, but a district touching it. Now that's the SAA, holds the YYJ. Claim the whole CRD and call that my home base. I used to take the 6 to Big West, wet through my shirt. 4 road to 70 to Sydney to go to work. Q&M, 100 spokes on a Cadillac. Hydroplane and crash the Lexi on the Malahat. These trucks toe tap the ORC in the heyday. Took Scram's old kit, then I took that bit to the stage. Made that choice and now you hear my voice when you pop a gold cassette in your deck and you press play. Working on the rhythm stems at the hidden gem. Grabbing mics with every stand downtown, mischipping them. Low key, low poet, hold it down in the street. In the tan where you tan, see the snow from the beach.
Yeah, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eating schnitzels. Oh, eating schnitzels. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love my schnitzels.
You love your schnitzels.
Love those schnitzels.
So do I.
Love those schnitzels. Eating schnitzels every single day. Schnitzel time, yeah, it's schnitzel time. Woo! Eating schnitzels every day.
Every day.
My doctor hates him.
Yeah, take care of yourself. So get the capital C.
The capital C.
Icky's going, never quits, it supplies you with dreams. It's got a new phone, a new home, provides you with stuff, and a line of credit when you're just not making enough. So get the capital C.
Capital C.
It's got supremacy, dwelling on that need to make cream. It's got an uncontent 1% who killed to the top, a new drill to the last drop with politics sold and bought. So get the capital C.
Capital C.
It runs on lithium and coal and steam and souls and dreams and public debt. And it's on for $4.99. So head right down to your local convenience store.
Woo!
Right,
Or your schnitzel house.
That's fun. Yeah. See you in the capital scene. Unfortunately, we're already there. That was fun. Yeah.
So I've got you as our primary guest for the jazz episode, but of course you are not merely a jazz musician. There is more going on underneath that musical hat of yours. Right. So could you tell me a little bit about kind of who you are and what jazz means to you?
Well, I'm a musician first and foremost. I think that is really inspired and informed by musicians that really write about society and write music about kind of the world they want to see. But also I'm an improviser. And so for me, that means trying to build fluency in the sounds that I like. I think that that's obviously what had me gravitate towards jazz music, because jazz music is just all about improvising and finding fluency to the point where you can just speak your mind in whatever style that is. But actually I got into improvisation from loving folks like Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton and all that. So more from rock before I got into like John Coltrane and Miles Davis and then like Christian Scott and more modern folks. So yeah, it's been a whole sort of progression about just finding that I love the state of mind that I'm in when I'm improvising. Improvisation is about self-acceptance, a firm belief that you are ready now to express yourself, that you are ready to just be in the moment. You don't have to prepare anything else. Jazz music speaks to me very loudly, but I feel in no way barred in by that style. I feel like I can just...
Right. It's not a box that boxes you in. It's a door that opens doorways.
Exactly. Because finding that kind of fluency and improvisation and collective improvisation, that can be in any style of music.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be jazz.
Well, if you do like jazz and you do like improvisation, you could definitely choose a worse city than Victoria.
Yeah, we're going to be popping by the United Church with Kelby's, where Kelby has his jazz series, and Herman's later today, which is, the spot to be for jazz in this city. And
no bias, given that you have a concert there tonight.
Right. No bias. No. But yeah, I love it there.
Speaking of improvisation, kids are the ultimate improvisers.
They are. Improvising just feels good. Like kids playing soccer. It feels amazing because you're in the moment, you're present. And this world, I think, sometimes brings us to be like disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from others. Very much kind of in a state where we're self-conscious because of the advertising industry and all that. And so I think finding mediums where you can be present and be connected is like necessary for being able to be resilient.
I think
So I'm really grateful that like improvisation is one of those that's just kind of built into my life, built into my work, built into my friendships. And that really helps me, honestly, to not fall into the isolation that can so easily find us in this world.
Yeah, when you talk about like improvisation and mental health, it just gets me to thinking about how so many of the issues that we have come down to just getting like caught in ruts of just like learned and practiced behaviors that are absolutely not good for us as human beings.
Yeah.
So if you manage to keep a strong relationship with spontaneity,
Yep.
then that also keeps you from falling into these kinds of ruts. So it's not just good as a musician; it's good as a human being.
Well, yeah, like real flow state improvisation is the opposite of overthinking things.
Right.
And when you're hearing someone else or playing music with someone else who's improvising, it inspires you to be in the moment. Like I've had so many gigs where I'm kind of in the first set, you know, trying to get in the moment, and I'm feeling a little bit like I'm not quite there. And then when I hear a bandmate of mine break through into flow state, that's like encourages me. I see their beauty so much in how they're playing and what they're doing, and that inspires me to want to join them
And does
into that state of not being kind of boxed in or feeling breaking through those blocks, you know.
And does it sometimes inspire you to go and get a schnitzel?
It hasn't yet, but your schnitzel song might just inspire me to have a bit of a schnitzel. You're getting close. Now I'm picturing a schnitzel, so that's like halfway there.
Okay, so I think we're getting pretty close to the church right now,
Awesome.
and that's where we are going to meet.
I'm excited to see Kelby.
Yeah. So,
Kelby MacNayr.
Kelby MacNayr. Now, who is this fella?
Oh, he's an amazing drummer, community builder. He's hosted jams, hosts a jazz series, plays in people's bands, band leads, makes a lot of music happen in the city. That's something I love about this music is like the different levels of generations. Like I played a gig with Kelby last week, and Kelby's a few years older than me. The band leader was 9 years younger than me, you know, and we're all just making music together.
It's a real way of forming multi-generational community.
Yes.
And I guess that's true for a lot of forms of music, but maybe more so with jazz, because it does have like these kind of historic roots. And here we are.
Here we are.
James Bay United Church.
James Bay United.
Right?
All right. Oh, there's the
Ah,
guy.
there's the man in question.
This is the place. This is the
Kelby
place.
MacNayr, I
Welcome.
assume.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yes,
I've heard
indeed.
all about you.
Oh, likewise.
Only good things. Only good things.
Yeah.
Me too.
Keep the stories going.
Good to see you, my friend.
Group hug.
All right.
Well, let's go inside.
Come on in.
I guess I would like to start by saying, we're in a church. Why are we in a church?
Yeah, you know, it's a good question, and it's something that came up about 5 years ago. My predecessor in this role, a friend named Gordon Miller, called me one time and said, hey, we want to start a concert series, basically to make this place alive in the community. We want to create something that makes a space for people to come, people with all amounts of money, people with all levels of interest or familiarity with jazz, and we want to make a space for the artists to come and do their thing. So we come together every Tuesday night and do a different concert featuring kind of every style in jazz you can imagine.
For people who like jazz, this is actually really a central thing. Like when I was asking people about this episode, they were like, oh, you got to talk to Kelby MacNayr about the jazz jams, right? So this just kept coming up.
Oh, neat.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a combination of the fact that real estate is so expensive, venues come and go, like over my time here, there's been tons of different places to play. But this has been amazing because first of all, it sounds incredible. But there's also something I think around the community. We live in a very beautiful place. We have a very beautiful music community of people who are friends. We kind of think of it as like a jazz family. So coming together in a church, it's a very welcoming, non-denomination, discriminating church.
Right.
So it's really about the idea of people coming together and sharing time. It's kind of a forward-thinking thing, I think, the idea of an arts ministry, the idea of like basically that when people come together and share time together, whether it has any kind of religious or spiritual component, there is a beautiful thing that happens.
Yeah, spirituality and creativity, I think, are very closely connected. They are siblings, for sure, if not just kind of branches of the same tree.
I think so. I mean, we're, whatever you want to call it, we're creative, alive beings.
A congregation of jazz.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. while I have you here,
Yeah.
we have access to some footage. So could you just tell me a little bit about kind of like what one can expect to see?
Sure. One of the things that I like to do as a programmer is just to try to think of it like as a menu. So I want people to come to my restaurant, and I don't want them to ever get bored.
Right.
But I also want them to know kind of what they're getting. So the only thing I try to do is use like my litmus test is, would I like to be there in the audience? Is it music that represents that artist doing quality work? So one of the clips you'll see is from a beautiful singer with whom both Wes and I are familiar, named Emily Braden. And she was around here maybe 15 years ago before moving to New York. So she came back and hung out. We did a beautiful concert of her music. You'll probably also see some stuff from a great, crazy old trombonist named Brad Shigeta from the Count Basie and Duke Ellington orchestras.
Ooh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
we try to mix it up.
Speaking of different generations, hey.
100%.
Holy moly.
But there's always a through line. Like the through line of, I think with jazz is maybe like there's exuberance, like joie de vivre that exists. And then there's also a seeking or a practice of authenticity that allows the musician to speak to the audience in a way that's understandable on a deeper level than just like, notes. It is about a feeling. And that feeling transcends the space between us.
You enter into a transcendental state. It's almost like going to church.
Well, it can be spiritual. That verve you're describing, I think everyone gets. And when we're in the moment, we're so alive. And if someone is making music, and just improvisation, because of the nature of it, challenges us to be in a state of flow. And be in the moment. Because if you're not in the moment, then you are unable to. Then you get off the train. The train's rolling, but you're not on it. And so the only way to do it is to be in the moment. And then seeing people in their element in the moment is inspiring. And you just feel that energy. So
I remember I was reading a book a little while ago that had to do with the idea of, they call it empathy as a scientific term, but what that means is if we went to like an Olympic sprint, we watched the sprinters, we would actually be faster for like an hour. There's this weird thing that happens metaphysically or somehow, brain science-wise, people can measure it, where like a little bit of our brains merge somehow, and we actually get faster. We have an experience somehow that we've been able to embody for a short time. So when musicians are playing and they're in that flow state, the audience is picking up on something magical. It's like quantifiable, but also ephemeral and magical.
Be in the moment. I think it makes people live longer. There's studies about community and people getting together and living longer, and this world can be so isolating. So series like this, I think, actually make people live longer.
Yeah, I believe it. Coming together in community. It's a beautiful thing.
We're heading over to the conservatory now, where I do program developing and coordination for their contemporary school.
Excellent.
They have a whole number of schools, but this school is, all about contemporary music and performance. So
we've talked a little bit about music for you, but I also feel like we kind of neglected to mention something rather important.
Oh yeah? What's that?
You have a band.
Oh yeah. See?
A band, a new album.
This is why musicians need help sometimes in self-promotion.
Right?
That's right. I have a band. It's the Wes Carroll Confabulation, and actually 2025 is our 10-year birthday. So that feels like a big deal. We have some releases coming out. 2024, we got signed to a Toronto-based record label called Flat Car Records. And I've always tried to do a mixture of like modern jazz that's linked in with tradition and has improvisation, but also with like influences from hip hop and pop to neo soul to rock and funk and sort of just whatever we want to do within that spirit still of holding on to improvisation.
I know all of this because I wrote an article about it. And I was particularly interested in the work that you do because I feel like you put this improvisational energy, this kind of openness of thinking outside of the box that's clearly a big part of your values. And also in like the topics that you cover in your latest album, Helium. It features songs also looking at genderqueer topics, which are near and dear to my heart. That's not really a question, it's just
it's a statement. I can turn that into a question if you want.
Yes, please.
Your question might be like, expand on that.
Expand on that, exactly.
All right. Well, here, I'd love to. So you're probably thinking of the song Put It On, which is the first track off that album, and in this case, put on women's clothing if it feels good.
Yeah, but you didn't know why, but you just had to put it on like that.
or put on any type of clothing that feels good. The song for me is about shedding some elements of like toxic masculinity and patriarchal socialization and ways that I had blocks that I needed to work through. Instead, just really celebrating the fact that the world can be a safe place and a place where we can really open up and be ourselves and open up to our various sides. And some of those sides might really enjoy wearing women's clothing and enjoy the how fun it is to wear frilly things and see your friends in all those outfits. So it's a real song of celebration. I actually wrote that song inspired by times in the pandemic when I was living with a bunch of roommates and we just all put on dresses for fun. We were bubbling together, you know, and just really celebrating our time together, even though the world was in such a crazy state. Yeah, that's a side of me that I love to celebrate.
Well, RuPaul has a saying, I forget what it is exactly, but essentially we're all in drag all the time anyway.
Okay.
That's certainly how I feel with this ridiculous mustache and mullet combination, to be honest.
It's so important to do. We're flexible. We don't have to be stuck in any way, and and once we accept that, we can accept ourselves and accept each other more.
I sense in you a great deal of worry about the world that we are living in and how it is changing and progressing, and what kind of world will either our children or our friends' children, you know, inherit, right?
I like that distinction. I'll just mention real quick, we're passing the Empress Hotel, and I actually performed there for 8 years. I just kind of decided to stop playing there recently to focus on original music and do fewer working gigs, but that's been a big part of my musical life too, is playing those sorts of gigs.
Yeah, so explain that actually, because that is kind of like one of the number one ways that musicians make their living, but that's something you're interested in sort of moving away from.
Yeah, at least for a good while, I think. You know, you can't do everything, and I've just found myself in a state of, after releasing the last album, of having some writer's block. And I was like, I need to make some time, because if I play 3-4 gigs a week that are long, that are covers gigs, then my energy's there. And then when am I thinking about writing music? So yeah, I think being a musician, you have to be flexible and enter different eras, different times. So I feel like this fall is a time for fewer gigs and for writing and really embracing that.
Yeah.
I don't think as an artist, you can really just find something that works and then do it for 40 years.
Sure. Well, also this like speaks to this whole idea of losing your spontaneity, getting into habits and kind of getting into a rut.
I guess doing grad school in Toronto in jazz performance was another time to just kind of shake things up. So it seems like every few years now I take a break from the steady working gigs.
I can also relate to that. Just like I find that the process of reinvention, rediscovering yourself in a different context, it is so important for also like figuring out if you still identify with the things that you used to identify with, right?
Because you might not.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're constantly like I'm very dedicated to always being my own best friend.
Right.
And I just lost a really close friend of mine, Daryl McLeod, and he really taught me that. He was his own best friend in an inspiring way. And I think that in order to be good friends to other people, we have to always do that. So if something's not working, you have to be honest about that with yourself, to not end up in a rut, to not end up feeling kind of blocked off in certain ways. Don't just think of it as like being alive. No, like you're your own best friend. I completely didn't answer your question earlier, so maybe I'll come back to that. That this world is all about under sort of late stage capitalism is all about separation, alienation, and exploitation. It's easy to exploit ourselves. It's easy to separate ourselves from our relationship with self and others. So we have to be diligent in order to not find ourselves doing all those things. It involves some willpower and a lot of presence. So, I mean, I was talking about this earlier, but to me, that's a big part of what improvisation is in my life.
Being present.
Being present and being present with others.
And that goes as much for our episodes as for anything else. For me, doing a project where all of the unpredictability of the world is constantly coming in your face.
You're improvising a lot out here.
Constantly. Yeah. So you're in this process of reinvention this autumn. What have you discovered so far? I mean,
I have a term that's really come to mind for me in the last few months since I created this space called It's Our Turn. And
It's our turn.
And to me, that idea is like created a lot of calm in my mind, because it's not my turn, it's our turn. And there's a lot of people who are involved in taking the torch right now while we're alive to try to make this world a better place, to try to stand for liberation and against the multiple forms of oppression that find us. There's many folks who came before us who when it was their turn, they worked hard so that we could have what we have. And if I'm actually using my turn the way that would honor them, and then
Honor the ancestors.
honor the ancestors, exactly, honor all those people who came before us, and then also honor the folks whose turn has yet to come,
Yeah.
who we're passing the torch to. That's taken some pressure off of me, and also for the fact that the issues that we're dealing with are multi-generational issues of colonization, of the sort of capitalist exploitation, and of ecocide. You know, they're not going to be resolved in our lifetime, so we have to hold the torch while we can.
Absolutely.
Very death affirming, if you will, you know, like, but in a way that's healthy. You know, we have to be aware of death.
Being a musician does not necessarily mean that you will want to be all about community, creating community. There are plenty of, I like electronic music, but there's lots of people in their bedroom studios with their headphones on, interacting with absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
But for you, built into the music is also this whole community.
We discover ourselves in relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't just learn about other people. Like when I'm talking to you right now, I'm hashing out my ideas. And so that's musically too. When I'm improvising with folks, I learn about myself without even the idea that I'm also getting to know someone else.
There's the things we learn on purpose, right? Like I learn how to use this particular camera. I learn how to use this, I learn a language. But then there's all this stuff that you're learning and you don't even realize you're learning.
Yep.
That's actually
Learning
quite
in the
interesting.
flow.
Yeah, exactly. It's this flow state learning.
And here we're at a castle now.
We are indeed at a castle, a really beautiful one.
Isn't that sweet?
My goodness, this episode is just full of beautiful buildings.
Yeah. From one stained glass room to another.
So what is this room?
This is the Alice Goulden Performance Hall.
Okay.
It's a part of the Victoria Conservatory of Music, especially when there aren't people in it, audience-wise. A very loud live room. Which is a fun place to sing.
So Nate, you are this episode's secondary pedicab operator, but you also work at VCM with Wes.
We just had a good talk about hip hop and how it works at a party, and that led to a workshop, and that led to a job. So I'm completely flabbergasted and entirely humbled to be here.
It's been my job for coming on 2 years to do program development here and think up new classes or work with instructors who want to bring new ideas into the contemporary school. And hip hop has been on my mind. That was something that I've been thinking about that the conservatory could use, thinking about conservatories dating back to the 1500s, deep into the 1900s, only playing classical music. And now we have this space where we're in a big church and we're like starting to run hip hop programming. So yeah, when Nathan and I started chatting about that, I think it was at a New Year's Eve party. We were just chatting about that, and it was like, oh wow, this clicks.
I was having a conversation with one of the instructors, and she said when she attended the Victoria Conservatory back then, they weren't allowed to play pop music in the hallways.
Wow.
I was just thinking about the faculty concert that we were both rapping at the faculty concert this past year, when that had never happened before at any type of VCM faculty concert.
I never really considered
There'd never
that.
been rapping before, and we were both doing it. So it feels exciting to be bringing that into these spaces. Like with Nathan, what can we do here together? So you have this the mechanics of a rap flow class.
With all the time that's passed since rap started, it's not very well understood. And there are mechanics that underpin it the same way that there's any other type of music, but if we try and look at it through the same lens that we look at singing, it's not going to make sense, and it still doesn't to a lot of people. So this is an amazing platform to be able to try and communicate that to the people, take that to the people.
I went to one of your classes, lots of beautiful stained glass, and just hearing like trap hip hop and like different
we got some E40
hip-hop
going,
recordings just like playing in the space, and you're talking about the different rap flows or the production style, and I'm like, yes, this is like, okay, this is sweet.
But it is still like you're putting creative energy into like, well, what kinds of programming can we have that we haven't had before, right? And I mean, that in a way could be comparable to how you approach jazz music.
Yeah, so I teach one class in the contemporary school besides just like private lessons, and that's improvisation in the musical mind. And basically that class, a lot of it is just about confronting stage fright. And then we get into playing pretty free. Like the music that we make is usually not tonal. It's pretty experimental because the aim of the class is not to sound good. As a result, we often find things that sound good.
Yeah.
And also, whoops. You know, yeah, whoops, totally. Where we just find totally new things because the aim is just to feel really good and listen and trust our instinct. So much music education, and for good reason, is about X's and O's. You play this note when this chord comes up, and then you go to this note and you voice lead. Super important. But if you spend all your time doing that, then it's easy to get into a gig and shrink. And so how can we find ourselves in moments where we're just like, don't know why, but I'm gonna play this note, and I know this is the right note. How can we build that also? Because that's like, I think, a level of knowing that instantly connects with people.
We're in a concert hall. Shall we do a quick concert?
We could, yeah.
Taking in my new life as an artist. Out of nowhere, the boy who used to hustle the hardest, swiping second without second guessing. And now it's stew to the stewy, like session to session. Pursuit of my craft and praying. Lesson is blessing. This is naked kicking and fresh with a delicatessen. A loogie that I'm out spraying is key and it's ringing. Your boy raining so pretty that all the flowers are spring. Power is heavy as 1,010 times at least. Speed running double time, blindfold that beast. Go hard in the paint till I sweat athlete. Creme brulee torch hot, tiramisu that sweet, smoother than butter. Just to move with the udder. We declare to be a dude that peruse and discover different views and use them to fuel the work and the art. Next gen can digest and the rhythm restarts. Yeah. Woo! Slow down.
It's so high. It's so high, it's all I had there. It's so high, it's so high, it's all I had there. I've seen houses that breathe helium. The same squeaky words as I walk the steps. With voices so high I can't understand. They shining demands using words from the banks. With prices rising from the sky. It's so high. It's so high. It's all I had there. That echo. It's so high, it's so high, it's all I had there. You got some to join?
Yeah, I do. Schnitzel time. Schnitzel, oh schnitzel. Schnitzel time.
It's schnitzel time.
Schnitzel time. Schnitzel time.
To ease your mind.
Schnitzel time.
Did you know they used to serve schnitzel at Herman's Jazz Club?
I didn't. What?
Yeah.
It's schnitzel time. Time to eat some breaded meat. Yeah. Woo! Schnitzel time.
Schnitzel time.
Yeah. All right. So where we're going next is a place that serves two purposes. Because one, it's a necessary stop for a jazz episode.
Absolutely.
But two, you've actually got a show there tonight.
That's
isn't it?
right. Yeah, Herman's Jazz Club. A great spot for original music.
Yeah, no, it's a real institution. We'll talk a little bit more while we're actually there about it.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say, it's so great of you to do this when you have a concert and this is eating into your rehearsal time for the night. Do you usually, ahead of doing a concert, do you do something wonky like ride in a pedicab all day? Or
No.
what's your process for preparing for a show?
I usually have a pretty chill day. Like for Herman's gigs, I try to take a bit more care because there's like a bunch of public speaking and I want my energy to be really on. But I find a little nap goes a long way. But actually, I have a story for you about that because one time I was playing with this band I'm in called Grapefruit is Impossible. It's like a comedic hip hop group.
I know Grapefruit is Impossible. I saw them at Fernfest. I didn't know that you were in it.
I'm in it.
I didn't, because we didn't know each other yet.
Founding member.
That's amazing. I love that. I love Grapefruit is Impossible.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, anyways, glad I mentioned that. One time before a show, Lucas, one of the rappers in the band, asked me how I prepare for shows and like if I ever get nerves or anything like that. And I had a really funny time right before going to the gig that day.
Okay.
Basically, I'd just gotten 3 piercings within a few days, like all on my face, and is important for reasons you'll understand soon. And I had like a little bit of a cold. This was pre-pandemic where you might have a cold and still like go and do things. So I was like, okay, well, I should take a daytime cold med before going to the show to make sure I'm not stuffed up.
Yeah.
All of that. Unfortunately, I took a nighttime cold med.
Oh no!
And I realized right afterwards that had happened. So I was like, oh shoot, okay, well, what am I gonna do? And I was like, hey, people like force themselves to throw up, right? That's the thing that people do when they like think they've poisoned themselves. Maybe that would be really easy. Maybe I can just throw up this nighttime cold med.
Oh no!
And then I won't have like something that makes me drowsy in my system before this like high energy gig. Easy, right? It's not easy.
Good to know.
You'll know that I am unable to force myself to vomit.
Okay.
So I couldn't do it, but I just had these fresh piercings and started to get like lightheaded. I felt a lot of pressure in my head and I was like, okay, man, I gotta stop this. Maybe I'll be a bit drowsy, but I can't do it. And I looked in the mirror, all 3 of my new piercings were actually bleeding because of the pressure, the blood pressure in my head.
Happy Halloween,
From gagging.
Jesus.
So anyways, so I told Lucas the story and I was like, yeah, that's how I prepare for a gig. And he was like, oh, good to know. We have different ways of getting ready for the gig.
How did your relationship with Herman's as a venue start, let's say?
It started back in 2014. I was releasing my first album with this collective called the Off Pulse Jazz Quartet. Come 2015, I had my first Confabulation gig here.
So it's really played a very big and fundamental part in your career as a musician here
That's
in
right.
Victoria. You would have had a lot of feelings when the government, or when it was announced that the upstairs was going to close down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was really saddened to hear that. You know, Herman's upstairs also had to close because there wasn't enough people going there to really make it viable without more support.
Such a common story in Victoria.
But that support is here now with the city. Herman's downstairs is open and it hasn't closed. The longest continually running jazz club in Canada. So let's go in.
Yeah, let's pass through View Street Social, another of Herman's venues.
Oh yes.
Holy moly, Sam!
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, what are
Happy
you
to
doing
see you.
here?
Yeah, just picking up a cable for the next event, of course.
We're doing an episode.
Oh, well. Fancy honey. Yeah, nice.
This is Wes.
Hi, Wes.
Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, Sam.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised you don't know each other, because you both hang out here a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of. You have 5 minutes?
Yeah, I got a couple minutes. Yeah, just busy with creating events still and have another one upcoming in 2 days, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Non-stop.
You could have left this cable right here.
No, well, this is a different place.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Okay. BonVictoriage, though, this is a small city and like communities intersect. So running into you today is actually the perfect thing to happen for this episode.
Yeah.
So Herman's View Street Social actually kind of more connected than I initially thought. I thought, oh, I have never been to Herman's. I want to get to Herman's, and then Actually, you have been to Herman's, Johnny.
Yeah.
If you go to View Street Social.
Yeah, you have been there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We lost Victoria Event Center not that long ago. And I mean, for me, that was a huge loss. And then thinking about like, where would I go if we didn't have View Street Social for, as you say, these kind of really laid back nights. And there is always this kind of threat hanging over us.
A city's livelihood is based on the entertainment it has within the city.
Cities that are alive have vibrant art spaces that actually are secure to be able to continue to exist and plan and grow and support the arts. The city buying all of Herman's, all 3 buildings that are part of a whole larger space, is really exciting because we need that in the city. The way that capitalism affects the local ecology of our cityscape is similar to the way that it affects the ecology of the environment. And we're finding extinctions happening. We're finding, just like we have the capitalocene happening, which is another word for the Anthropocene, a permanently changed ecosystem globally. We have the capitalocene affecting the ecosystem of the arts and of what cities look like, with more and more condos, more and more Walmarts. And that is the gravitational pull within a system based on exploitation. And so unless the business model allows musicians to earn a living, unless we have that, we're going to see gravity pull us more and more towards fewer art spaces, more condo buildings, more ridiculously priced rental spaces, and no venues. So it's a key thing the city's doing, and at an important moment, I think.
It's good that happened, because what I'm sorry to say it, but one thing that I associate with Victoria is venues closing and not necessarily being replaced. You know, we've in this series we've talked about Logan's. We were at VEC 2 days before it was announced that they were closing. So I also find it quite. It's so interesting that the city decided to step in and do that for Herman's.
Folks who are paying attention see that this is a desperate situation where things could go either way. And luckily we have a city council that has musicians who are currently playing, used to play music, who are interested in keeping a thriving art scene alive. But yeah, seeing, okay, we've lost a few. If we keep losing venues, what is our city going to look like? Arts needs support. Just like healthcare needs support, education needs support. If we look at everything as having to be super commercially viable, we're going to end up with a pretty dead city.
You use the term gravity to talk about like just kind of things falling to earth a little bit. And tonight when you're doing your concert, you're going to be playing a lot of songs from your newest album, Helium, which is kind of the antithesis to gravity. Could you just sort of tell me what like the metaphor of helium in your album kind of has to do with everything we've been talking about?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, there's so many contradictions within the system of capitalism, but, you know, I'm talking about a race to the bottom that's commonly talked about with capitalism, where, you know, things have to be made more and more cheaply, workers need to be paid less and less in order to create more room for exploitation and profit. That's sort of the race to the bottom analogy. The album Helium is about basically how prices of things, costs of rent are floating up and up towards the sky. Our mental health is getting harder and harder to grasp in this current world with ecological crisis and more extreme weather events every month. And then as a result, we find ourselves speaking in rushed, squeaky voices. So we find ourselves like we're breathing helium. We're talking, we're not grounded. We're caught up in the whole moment, and what we need is a grassroots social movement of people who are grounded very much so, and aren't breathing helium, and are finding ways to breathe air.
Well, I hope that, you know, as far as breathing air, today, as we film this, does provide us a place where we can breathe some of that air.
And the pedicab, too.
Yes, exactly.
Lots of fresh air. No, this is fresh air for me. Like, whenever I'm with community, whenever I'm singing with people who I love and seeing the community out, hearing loud music, I'm breathing great air. So cheers to more air, more arts in the city.
What's up, everybody? How are we doing? Wow, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate the woo-woo-woo-woos. That's great. Keep it coming. We're going to be casual here tonight. When we celebrate, I see you celebrate, lost deep with your friend. I meant to masticate my words on your plate, but you ain't touched them yet. A hushed winter's day, with snow disintegrates. the bars of outside. Your thoughts screaming, oh, you're daydreaming for. Cause when I speak, I see that lost look in your eyes. I see that lost look in your eyes. Oh no, yesterday I can fight. I can't relate what transpired. I couldn't say. It's like I'm trying not to age.
Focus like a blaze, blamed on environmental arsonist. Irony twists the truth, twirling like a top on a list. So dizzy and confused, perusing misdirection with desire to use up the rest of the West, but keep you blind to the fact. Fracked up and acting an extractivist tactic. That's Alberta with the tar sands. BC, LNG, Ferry Creek, oil lobby filing their teeth to suck out remains. Yeah, it pains me to frame with this way. 1,200 arrests can keep the saw blaze a bit, where they can tear with a heart or rip the art out from a taste. We got capacity, but just can't seem to put it in place. Apolitical, yeah, but we're political. Apolitical, yeah, but we've got something to say about the people in poverty, power, production. We're political, but their fire is blocked from eruption. Yeah, but you didn't know why. But you just had to put it on like that. Yeah, you didn't know why. But you just had to put it on. Yeah, you didn't know why. But you just had to leave the house like that. Yeah, you didn't know why. But you just had to put it on.
And you get a schnitzel.
It's like
you get a schnitzel.
we all get it's like business time.
It's schnitzel. It's schnitzel time.
It's schnitzel time. You know what I mean? You're saying that it's a schnitzel time.
Schnitzel time, yeah.
It's schnitzel time.